Today we're talking about my 3 secrets when it comes to keeping fish. I've talked about a lot of them before. I don't know if as in depth. I always forget, like, have I talked about that, or did I just talk about that with Dean for 6 hours straight? So my first thing is feeding more food and more often. That's the biggest difference I see between breeders and hobbyists and just all of that. When you see a magnificent fish, or you see a lot of fish, or you see just a lot of babies growing really quickly. And that's why Dean grows fish faster than me. I just don't hatch and feed out live baby brine twice a day. I do it once a day. I have auto feeders set up. I have feedings that I'll do frozen foods, but a lot of people, when they watch my videos of where I'm feeding stuff, they're like, you're grossly overfeeding. And I think we're not really registering that, an animal like that, depending on the type of fish, like a pleco wants to graze all day long. Making sure that fish get food. So if you just throw some flakes or some pellets right on the top, and you have this feeding frenzy up top, what about snails? What about the plecos? What about the Corydoras? What about the fish that didn't get a bite right then, and now they're losing weight, right? I like to make sure that there's always some food that actually hits like the bottom of the aquarium and sits there for a little bit. So I'm not scared if 20 minutes later I've got food in there. Most fish food packaging says feed as much as they can eat in about 2 minutes, and that can be very good when you're new, right? Because when you're new, you're more likely to kill fish with bad water parameters. But over a long course of time, right, you see that you can start losing weight, and you could have internal parasites, and you can have babies that are getting eaten, and all of these other adverse effects. But the first mission of most companies is to keep the first fish alive. And so what I found, one of my secrets is just feed a lot and feed often. Now, on the counter side of that, you have to watch water parameters. And this could be a good example. If you feed your bed of 4 pellets and eats 4 pellets, right? Don't go to 20 pellets, because now you realize, oh, my Acostomus and my snails and all of that, my shrimp haven't been eating. You also might have to vary it up. A lot of times, certain tanks have to get multiple types of food. So I might be getting something for up top, but then I'm trying to sneak a plankton banquet block or a pashy or wafers, something down to the bottom where the other fish can get it. So you're feeding a tank and not fish. That's another barrier to kind of get over, is there's so many things to feed. Like in my shrimp tank, I feed the shrimp, but I'm also feeding the bacteria colony, and I'm also feeding the scuds, and I'm feeding all the other microfauna. So my next tip is keeping your fish cooler. Now, for a lot of people, this will make sense. If you're a hardcore breeder, maybe not. But if you're just a hobbyist and you've got 5 aquariums and you want longevity out of your fish, keeping them cooler, they will live longer. So like with a live bear, like a guppy, you can get it to live as short as like 18 months or as long as like 2.5, 3 years, depending on temperature. It makes a big difference. Same with rainbow fish. If you talk to Gary Lang, he'll say, like, if you keep them hot, you got to breed them right away, because they're going to stop breeding. They go through that period too quickly. The other benefits you'll get, and you'll see this a lot just like in like angelfish. Keep them at like 72, 73, 74, somewhere down in there. It's not quite warm enough for them to want to breed. They're much more docile, and they won't have babies every single week, which doesn't tax their body. Imagine, we know how stressful it is for a human or maybe a dog or something like that to have a baby. Now imagine doing that every single week. That is a huge toll on a fish. And so if we can slow that down, you're going to get much more longevity out of your fish. There's going to be a lot less fighting. There's going to be everyone's more laid back. And that goes for most fish breed at that 78, 77, 78, 79 level, most. And there's some that need hotter and some that do it cooler. So if we cool it down a little bit, right? You cool it down a little bit, then you're still healthy. You're right under that. They're not sitting year-round in the breeding time. Where in the wild, typically, most fish get 1 to 2 breeding seasons. Like koi, you get like right at the beginning of the summer and then right at the end of the summer. Like in the Amazon, you've got the wet season, the dry season, and you've got cooler temperatures and warmer temperatures, and when the breeding's going to happen, when the food's going to be available. Most of my career now, I've heated the room. When I was new, of course, every tank needs a heater, right? You don't know any better, you're learning, right? That's why my fish room a lot of times running at about 72 degrees. Now I have to heat the room more than that, so it stays at 72. And some tanks run warmer, and if you have a tank that's really low to the ground, it's going to be cooler than one closer to the ceiling. At your home, most likely you've had a furnace, and maybe it runs 10, 15 years, kind of no problem at all. Whereas an aquarium heater, it can start having problems, as soon as a year or so. And so, you know, you got to watch 1 or you got to watch 100, right? Or maybe it's only 6 for you, but even that's a 6-fold increase compared to a furnace or something like that. So when you can, try to heat the room, keep it cooler. I don't run into nearly as many problems of this fish is beating up that fish. I almost never have to save a fish's life because it's getting beat up. I do run community fish for the most part, but you can also see community fish really do it too. So that's really a big piece, I think, that as you get longer in the hobby, you kind of go, hey, this is working out pretty good. My third one is don't listen to the internet as a collective. What you want to do is you want to find someone that you like hanging out with or like talking to and listen to them and learn more about their story. So if 500 people right now say Aquariumcoop is amazing, that's not actually useful input. That's the same as saying 500 people say you have to do water changes. 500 people say you have to feed less. 500 people say you have to do these things. Instead, I look for the dean, right? I look for the dean and go, hey, I like that guy. He thinks similar to me. When you find someone else that is like a one-on-one connection, let's say you pick out Dave and Aaron Woods, you can then talk to them and go, well, what's your exact experience with this? And maybe you both love guppies and you do well with them. And then you ask them like, hey, I'm trying to do zebra plecos. And they've also played with zebra plecos. Their knowledge is now a lot more applicable than the collective internet. They're like, well, I heard zebra plecos are expensive and hard to keep. Those are both true, but they're not tangible, useful information. And so, you know, part of it is I do everything myself. And so obviously I'll read about stuff on the internet, but I also go, well, I wonder if I could do it different. I wonder if I could keep them at a different temperature. I wonder if I could feed them differently. I wonder if I could keep them with a different mix of fish. I wonder if, I really think you go further in your hobby when you spend less time trusting other people as a collective and more learning for yourself. Take everything with a grain of salt and basically find some fish friends that you can have one-on-one conversations that are meaningful. There's a lot of one-on-one conversations where, you know, you're almost combative, like they want to do it a different way, you don't like doing it that way. Don't talk with that person about that. If you want to do under gravel filters or you want to do whatever it is, find other people that are having success and want to do that to learn more about it. Don't come to me with the latest canister filter technology because I don't even like canister filters that much. You might find someone else that all they run is this and they found here's the best way to do it. Dean's great for breeding a lot of fish, but he's not great for a lot of plants, right? He's done it, but he doesn't have the same passion for plants that he does breeding fish. And so just because you have a friend that does well in aquariums, make sure you're leaning to the right thing. Like he tests a lot of foods also. Before I ever met him, he was the guy like, I order every food, every German food, every food, right? And so that's a useful skill, and he's a DIY type of guy, but he's not a guy that you'd ask for about aquascaping. Like, well, do you think I'm breaking the rule of thirds here? Do you think do you think I should put, move from a 3-stone to a 5-stone layout? Do you think I should do this? He's not that guy. I can make any statement of like, Reese's peanut butter cups are good, and there's 50% people, no, you're terrible, you're wrong, right? So everything, there's a counter to it. So if I love sponge filters, there's someone who hates them. For someone who loves canister filters, I hate them, right? I still have to use them from time to time. That doesn't mean I have to like them. Those are my 3 kind of secrets that make my hobby a lot easier of talking to people, feeding more, and keeping things cooler. Those have been my secrets. I mean, there's always more secrets. I'm sure I'll think of more as time goes on, but yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this video. To watch another one just like this, click here.